Well, good afternoon and welcome to FESBC Market View. This is the Thursday edition of Market View, courtesy of FESBC. Today, as it is 2 p.m. Central African time, by the way, and we want to dive into the impact of the FESBC Seminar at this year's Eswatini International Trade Fair, hosted by the Federation of Eswatini Business Community, FESBC. The seminar has been a game changer for local businesses, shedding light on key issues like access to finance and securing markets. Those are two major challenges for our small and medium enterprises. We want to hear first-hand insights from the business community, as well as to break down the strategies that are being discussed. Joining us in studio is going to be our business journalist, Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla, to decode that particular development. She was on the ground to witness these developments. Later on the show, we're going to be joined by economist Sanele Sibiya. We want to discuss the recent 1 Lilangeni decrease in the price of gas, a very, very important story, especially for motorists, as it offers some relief amidst rising costs in other areas. We also want to look at the economic implications of this decrease and how it affects everything from transportation costs to consumer spending. Stay tuned for a deeper look into how this price drop can positively impact both businesses as well as households. Let's go for a net break. We'll return shortly with our Enterprise Watch.
Do you pay your TV license and are up to date with your payments? If not, here is your chance. If you own a TV set, a decoder, or a set-top box, and you voluntarily declare, the TV license fees will not be backdated, and you will only be required to pay for the 2024 TV license fee. On top of that, you will also avoid paying the 50% penalty fee. This offer is valid until the 30th of September 2024. However, if you pay before the last day of this year's trade fair, you stand a chance to win awesome prizes. The draw will be conducted on the last day of the trade fair, the 8th of September 2024. Take advantage of this leniency period. It's not too late to make the right choice. Pay your TV license and be a compliant citizen. Pay your TV license through any of these TV license pay points, MTN Mobile Money, Eswatini Mobile Imali, Eswatini Post Office, and our NetBank account. When you make payment for your TV license, always remember to reference with your personal identity number. Eswatini TV will be at the International Trade Fair 2024, bringing you exciting opportunities to connect with a wider audience and boost your brand visibility. ESTVA is offering incredible specials that include 5-minute on-location interviews, engaging viewers directly, spot advertisements, 30 seconds congratulatory messages, and much more. Do not miss out on this chance to increase brand awareness, generate lead and sales. Our details are displayed on the screen.
A show where we interview inspirational young professionals who are making a real impact in their industries and reshaping our world. This is Young Climber.
My dream and my mission is to be a tangible example of a dream realized. You don't choose where you are born, of course, but you decide where you end up.
Our conversations spark ideas, fuel ambition, and elevate your career path. These are the stories that change your perspective on life, conversations that shape entrepreneurs and move careers forward. If you are serious about your career development, you can't afford to miss this show. Join me, Tabelo Dlamini, every Tuesday at 6:30 for Young Climber, where every episode could be your next big breakthrough.
Thank you for staying with us. It's 5 minutes after 2. Let's get into our Enterprise Watch segment. Businesses under the Federation of Eswatini Business Community say the FESBC Seminar by FESBC at this year's trade fair has been very, very helpful, as it has shed some light on access to finance and how they can secure markets. The small and medium enterprise holders were speaking during the seminar on Tuesday at Mavuso Exhibition and Trade Center in Manzini.
The objectives of the seminar are to, first of all, guide the members that we already have so that they know the direction we're taking. But secondly, we also have potential members so that they know who FESBC is and they may be able to join if they so wish. But essentially, we want to unpack the mission of FESBC and the benefits of being a member in FESBC. And today's theme is Vusumnotho. You may be aware that we are coming from a difficult time when we had COVID-19, which suppressed economic activities. We also have other problems such as global warming and the weather changing and so forth and so on. So all these are dampening the spirit of the business people. So what we want to achieve today is to re-energize the MSMEs and give them hope that, look, we are together. FESBC is, as a federation, we are there for them. We want to hold hands, and we have a roadmap for the organization where we want to promote membership. We also want to inform them that we have means and ways of assisting them build capacity so that they're able to grow in their businesses. We also will assist them in terms of getting finance, how they can get finance and so forth and so on, how they can prepare themselves. We also have a significant role that we play in advocacy. There are so many guidelines, rules, acts which affect business people. They may not have a chance to, air their views. So FESBC is there to advocate for them. We are addressing issues of marketing and assisting them so that they know where to go, who to touch base with. And as FESBC, that's what we'll be actually assisting on. There are plenty of opportunities for them, and we are putting that to their disposal so that they have all the information.
Members of FESBC say the knowledge on access to finance as well as ways of accessing markets is very critical and will help them as they navigate the business landscape.
This session helped us a lot, and it is still going to help us because FESBC is a voice for us SMEs, meaning that there are things that we cannot do us as SMEs, but FESBC can do those things for us, like in terms of the policies, in terms of the late payments. FESBC can engage a government in terms of those aspects.
Such sessions as a FESBC member help us a lot in terms of business development and also able to get funding from various financial institutions.
FESBC has said they currently have over 3,500 members, and the number is growing as more businesses are showing interest in the federation. For FESBC Market View, Nelson Langamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Manzini.
Newly elected Manzini and Hlangano regional committees under the Federation of Eswatini Business Community have been given a strict mandate to capacitate small and medium enterprises that are under the Federation. They are given the mandate to capacitate them with knowledge that will help them steer their businesses to the right direction. Now, the Chief Executive Officer, Ben Simelane, said this when he announced members of the new committee. We do have a conversation.
The Manzini Region Committee stands as follows. The chairperson is Prince Themba Dlamini. The vice chair is Justice Lusenvo Madonsela. The secretary is Dumile Stole. Vice Secretary is Kombisile Ndwandwe. Treasurer is Ngwane Mabuza. And then we have 2 additional members, namely Skhumbuzo Masego and Henry Masilela. That's the Manzini Region Executive. I now move to Shiselweni Region Executive. There we have chairperson being Penwell Nhlabatsi. The vice chairperson is Mhlobozonke Dlamini. The secretary is Siviwe Gunene. Vice secretary is Hlopsile Dlamini. Treasurer is Sipiwe Gwebu. And then we have got 2 additional members, namely Tumsane Zwane and Ntando Dlamini. We expect them to lead. They will play the leadership role in their various positions and guide the region as far as the business is concerned. They are expected to align to FESBC strategy and support the strategy so that we see success of the SMEs.
Right, that's it for our Enterprise Watch. We'll go for a net break. We'll return with business news.
Do you pay your TV license and are up to date with your payments? If not, here is your chance. If you own a TV set, a decoder, or a set-top box, and you voluntarily declare, the TV license fees will not be backdated, and you will only be required to pay for the 2024 TV license fee. On top of that, you will also avoid paying the 50% penalty fee. This offer is valid until the 30th of September 2024. However, if you pay before the last day of this year's trade fair, you stand a chance to win awesome prizes. The draw will be conducted on the last day of the trade fair, the 8th of September 2024. Take advantage of this leniency period. It's not too late to make the right choice. Pay your TV license and be a compliant citizen. Pay your TV license through any of these TV license pay points: MTN Mobile Money, Eswatini Mobile Imali, Eswatini Post Office, and our NetBank account. When you make payment for your TV license, always remember to reference with your personal identity number.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's look into our business news of the day. Local businesses say they are ready to grab the opportunities that come with the different trade agreements by the government. Speaking during the Leveraging the SADC-EU Economic Partnership Agreement and the African Continental Free Trade Area Business Seminar at the Trade Fair, they applauded government and different partners for helping them to fully understand all the contents of the agreement.
The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority says it seeks to have local businesses export products worth about 50 billion emalangeni or more by the year 2030. This, according to Sibusiso Mnisi, Manager External Trade Promotion, they can only do by engaging and capacitating local businesses to take advantage of the trade agreements.
What they're teaching us are that we need to not look at our markets as only Eswatini, but that there are other countries in which we can have markets, and as well there are other trade agreements that are there that the wider business community may not know about, that we can leverage to use to get into these other markets.
It's great to learn about some of the other trade agreements that we weren't fully aware of. We're an export-orientated business. That was always the intention at the start. Currently we actually sell mostly locally, but taking advantage of these trade agreements definitely allows us to have a preferential way into the market.
Us being here is going to assist us ukuthi sikhone ukuthi sifundise labo make befula sebakangakhona ku-exporta ukuthi basebenzise lama agreements that are available, which the government has allowed or the members of states have signed.
The more we are emphasizing on the importance of the AFCFTA, we are seeing the different opportunities that we can use to participate in trade as youth in the African region.
As a manufacturing company in Eswatini, AFTA can greatly help us in exporting our products outside Eswatini and also in other SADC countries. So it's more of like a tool that can help us to bring awareness out there on our brand.
The trade agreements include the African Continental Free Trade Area, African Growth and Opportunity Act AGOA by the United States of America, and the SADC-EU Economic Partnership Agreement, to name a few. For Market View, Nelson Langamanda, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Manzini.
Do you pay your TV license and are up to date with your payments? If not, here is your chance. If you own a TV set, a decoder, or a set-top box, and you voluntarily declare, the TV license fees will not be backdated, and you will only be required to pay for the 2024 TV license fee. On top of that, you will also avoid paying the 50% penalty fee. This offer is valid until the 30th of September 2024. However, if you pay before the last day of this year's trade fair, you stand a chance to win awesome prizes. The draw will be conducted on the last day of the trade fair, the 8th of September 2024. Take advantage of this leniency period. It's not too late to make the right choice. Pay your TV license and be a compliant citizen. Pay your TV license through any of these TV license pay points, MTN Mobile Money, Eswatini Mobile Imali, Eswatini Post Office, and our NetBank account. When you make payment for your TV license, always remember to reference with your personal identity number.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, to feel the rush of life overwhelm you, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. You ask, and we give you the royal experience. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. There are but a few places on earth so special, so unique, and so spectacular, where it becomes the rite of passage for the ambitious travelers, the courageous souls, to all have the one and only royal experience. That day when you look deep into your heart and leap into an ancient world so very different from your own, where magic, beauty, and love are shared forever, then you will have a royal experience. There is just one place on earth where the people make you feel a part of their kingdom, where you just might volunteer to awaken spirits, enrich minds, and work alongside communities to build, motivate, and inspire. This is truly the royal experience.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We're getting into our market analysis segment, and today a little bit different from the usual. Sanele is in studio to help us decode these indices that I have right here. I want us to start with the U.S. markets as I greet you, Sanele. We're seeing mixed performances in the U.S. markets today. The Nasdaq Composite down by 0.30%, S&P 500 dropping slightly by 0.16%. What are the factors contributing to this dip, and should we expect more volatility
Thank you, Mr. Nxumalo. So what we are seeing in the markets is basically it's a heavyweight data, and the markets are still a bit concerned about the performance of the U.S. economy overall.
Yeah.
So right now, what the markets are waiting for is to see the consumer expenditure data that's going to come out today. Yesterday we saw the manufacturing index data coming out and are really showing signs of a weakening economy. So that's why we are seeing those numbers working there. So that's a story across all markets where just markets are waiting for more data so that we able to trace and track a very prudent and track a monetary policy path and see whether the Feds will actually indeed cut interest rates later this month, and by how much if they do indeed cut. So that's weighing heavily on the markets.
It's very interesting because when we look into what is happening in Europe, probably the same picture in terms of mixed picture. Well, FTSE 100, the DAX both in the positive territory, CAC 40 down by 0.46%. I suppose the question then becomes, what is driving these movements in particular, and how might this affect investor confidence in the European markets?
So what we are seeing there is the fact that what we are seeing is, it keeps on jumping between the negative and the positive.
Right.
So when we quoted these numbers for today, they were actually in the negative. But if you quote the FTSE right now, would still be on the negative, on the red. Purely because, what we are waiting for is the data to come out from the US. And we've seen quite a number of economies in Europe really not performing well in this quarter. The figures coming out of Ireland. We've also seen the figures coming out of Germany showing that, really, we do expect Europe's largest economy to actually stagnate this year, growing at around 0.3 or 4%.
Right.
So it's those figures there, and the story in France, until and unless we get to a situation of a clearer policy path in terms of the politics there. So basically also the numbers from the US are also weighing in heavily on the markets in Europe.
Very, very interesting. What we are seeing in the Asian markets, a little bit different from what we've just seen. We are seeing that Nikkei, significant drop there, but we are seeing the Shanghai Composite gaining by 0.14%. What is the cause of this disparity, and perhaps particularly the heavy loss in the Nikkei?
So basically, if you recall, think a couple of weeks back, we saw the Nikkei losing from the upwards of 40k to 35k, now making those bit of gains. And now, as we are waiting for the market data, more especially in the US, to show whether we are going to see those signs of renewed growth and see more demand into the future. That's why the Nikkei has actually lost another 390. Same thing in Hong Kong. If you look at the Shanghai Composite Index, we are basically waiting for that. But when you come into mainland China and you look into it, so within Beijing, there are those moves to try and prop up the economy. We've seen the Chinese government and the central bank, they're really moving to buy back some shares, some billions of share buyback. So that's what is somehow pushing back the Shanghai Composite Index. However, you still notice that it still hasn't really reached the 3,000 mark. So, markets are still struggling to get back to that high point, back to the 3,000 mark that we saw earlier on. So we're
coming closer to home, in South Africa, the JSE All Share Index, there it is. We are seeing it's in the red as well, fallen by 0.10%. That's negative 0.1% anyway. But the question then becomes, how do you see the local market performing in the short term, and what sectors should investors keep an eye on?
So what we're seeing again, the story there is, the confidence in the U.S. markets and how the U.S. is going to be performing, because largely South Africa is an exporting economy and the U.S. is amongst the 5 major trading partners for the South African economy. So that's what we are seeing playing out in those numbers over there. But when you look into the market itself, when you really do a deep dive, you will see that, the miners are still performing relatively well, and, still some of the financial sector, when you look into the financials, your Nedbank and whatnot, they're still performing relatively well. So those are the sectors that I would really urge one to go for at the current moment.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Now let's come home for real. Eswatini, it remains unchanged. I think it's still the same story here. While other markets are fluctuating, which is interesting to me. Could you explain the stability of the Eswatini market right now, and what trends might we expect in the near future?
So, what we are seeing here in Eswatini, it's an issue of demand. where the markets are really not moving because nobody is buying and nobody is selling. The ones that have the shares. So what we have, we call dividend investors. They're holding on to the shares so that they buy dividends to, so they get the dividends.
Is that good or bad? Sorry.
It does infuse some stability, but it also is not good for those that want to come in and raise money in the stock market, because then one thinks, what happens now? Am I going to have a share price of 2 emalangeni every day because, you know, there is no demand, there's no supply. So it's those things. But we are hoping that as we continue marketing the Eswatini Stock Exchange, which is something that we do in this program, and we have also seen them at the trade fair, and if we move on to automation, then it's going to become relatively easy for people to buy and sell stocks within the Eswatini Stock Exchange. So automation is one of the issues we are looking forward to see happening, you know.
Let's get into commodities. We're seeing gold and Brent crude. Both those two have risen today. Gold in particular 0.80% and Brent crude 0.65%. Now, how do these increases play into what we call the global economic picture, and what can we expect for consumers and investors moving forward?
So when you look at the price of gold, they're still above the 2,500 mark, purely because the monetary policy path in the US is still not yet clear, and you know, we've seen a weakening dollar over the past few days. So that actually makes gold the favorable investment commodity, because it holds on to value, and that is why we are seeing that portfolio realignment, seeing portfolios moving from equities into commodities. So as a safe haven type of currency of commodity. And then if you come into the price of Brent crude oil, you can see that there's been a marginal increase. However, we are still at that 73 mark. You know, it's amongst the lows that we've seen this year. So what that really means is, if you couple that with the strong currency domestically, we've seen the Natural Resource Ministry saying it's going to drop the price of fuel. So that's a trend we should expect to see, as we are seeing, you know, the weaker demand coming out from China and a stronger currency domestically. So we should really expect the price of fuel to stay relatively low until something happens in the Middle East that's going to be a bit drastic, pushing the price up, or we see a miracle within mainland China, you know, the demand surging up and also demand surging up in the US.
Yeah. Now, the rand weakening against both the US dollar and the euro, while gaining against the Japanese yen. What is that telling us?
So that is actually telling of the story we've been saying in terms of the currencies.
Yeah.
You know, the dollar is relatively weakening these days, so we're seeing those gains. You know, investors coming into relatively stable emerging economic currencies. That is why we are seeing that type of growth within our local currency, just edging up a bit by 0.42%. And also, if you look into the euro, we are still within the 20 region, into the 0.29%, and then relatively weakening against the Japanese yen, probably because the yen is actually being propped up right now. We're seeing a huge buyback of the yen, you know, into the billions of dollars by the Japanese government.
It's quite interesting. You did chime into the fact that we've seen another development that is going to, you know, make a lot of motorists across the country really, really happy. That is the price of gas that has dropped by 1 lilangeni. In a time where many are grappling with the rising cost of living, Sanele, I want to understand from your perspective how this change impacts the overall economy and perhaps, in fact, inflation and consumer spending.
You know, we always say gasoline is just the cost of getting by. So there is no industry that doesn't depend on fuel. So we are going to see that relief at pump prices. And once we start seeing that in that relief in terms of pump prices, we do expect that going into the next reading of the inflation figures later this month, probably this one is going to come up next month, we should expect to see headline inflation decelerating a bit in terms of the fuel component and the transportation component. And that's going to trickle throughout the economy, and we are going to expect inflation to also just slow down a bit to factor in the decrease in the price of fuel. That's actually a huge decrease by 1 rand. I mean, if you were fueling 200s yesterday, today you are going to get an extra liter, you know. So that's huge. So we do expect inflation to slow down a bit and prices not to increase as one would expect prices to increase in the short to medium term. And that's a situation I would really foresee happening for the next 2 or 3 months, until and unless something drastic happens in the Middle East at this point.
I mean, right on the mark for us closing the show, Sanil. I'm happy that that you gave us that clarity, because, you know, it may look like 1 Lilangeni is not much, but really, in the grand scheme of things, it is actually much. So thank you so much for joining us on the program in studio today, and thank you for staying with us on the program. You'll enjoy other programs brought to you by Eswatini TV after this show. Bye-bye.
Was threatening that was Marine Le Pen, and it seems that she is less likely to automatically censor this appointment. So it's a rather concerning development, but a surprise.